ideas, talent, and cooperation. We cooperate all over the world now.
We can actually have impact in a meaningful way across a number of topics.
You cannot handle by one pieces and one piece. It needs to look over a holistic approach.
They cut across the education sphere, the economic, social, humanitarian, just basically bringing Armenia to a possible future reality.
Bring them all together and have an opportunity to talk, to present some ideas, to discuss, being the bridge between different civilizations.
By becoming a universal nation, not parochial nation, isolated.
Aurora Forum, we thought, will give us opportunity to bring multi-discipline, multi-directions, but also multi-civilization, multi-culture projects together in a place like Armenia.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Karen Markides, President of American University of Armenia.
Aurora Prize laureates and Aurora Humanitarians, distinguished guests, students and friends. Welcome all of you to AUA and welcome to the conversation with the 2019 Aurora Humanitarians. It is our pleasure to host the conversation with the Aurora Humanitarians for the third time now. The Aurora mission is very close to our heart, and our partnership with the Aurora Prize dates back to the establishment. Together with the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative and cooperation with the Scholar Mundi Armenia, we established the Aurora Gratitude Scholarship. These are grant scholarships to study at AUA for students that are holding a citizenship from the following countries: Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, Russian Federation, Georgia, and Iran. Partnerships like this are essential to share the Armenian history and to build a better future for all of us. I myself, I am a proud Aurora Goodwill ambassador, and I'm looking forward to representing the Aurora Prize and being part of this celebration for this week and also throughout the whole year. Today, I encourage you to ask questions online. Since this is a conversation, please take this opportunity, and then you're using hashtag Aurora Dialogues. So, hashtag Aurora Dialogues. And be part of this conversation. One more time, on behalf of AUA and the Aurora Prize for Awakening Humanity, welcome to this conversation with the 2019 Aurora Humanitarians. Now it is my pleasure to invite to the stage the Aurora Forum and Aurora Humanitarian Initiative co-founder, Nubar Afeyan.
Good morning, everyone. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all and to thank the American University of Armenia for hosting this important gathering and dialogue for the third year, as Karen just mentioned, and also welcome Karen, as she's the newly inducted president of the university. We're looking forward to the next phase of this university's already forming glorious past and future. So welcome you to the leadership role here. It's my pleasure to open this thing. You're not here to hear a dialogue from me. You're here to hear the finalists for the Aurora Prize for 2019. I just want to mention two quick things. One, we welcome everyone to the remainder of the week, in particular Saturday and Sunday, to join us as part of the Aurora Forum. I hope everybody knows, there's a lot of information online, that there is a set of talks that are organized throughout the day Saturday that will culminate in the evening with an open-air concert and celebration. And then on Sunday, again, there's a set of talks. And so we hope everybody joins a continued conversation on this important set of topics, but also the other areas that you've heard about. The second thing is I just want to kind of remind us of why we're here. Aurora Prize is a relatively young initiative. It's about 4 years old, and it is an effort to bring to the world's attention those living on the planet today that are saving the lives of others at great risk to their own lives and having a significant impact, particularly in the human rights and humanitarian spheres. And it's been a very humbling experience together with the co-founders, Vartan Grigoryan and Reuben Martin Yan, you will hear from Reuben at the end, to see the stories. We get some 500 plus submissions and recommendations for nominees, that is, for this. And when you realize what each of them are doing, and as Armenians, which many of you are, as you map what they're doing back to what others did for us 100 plus years ago, you begin to relive what it must have been like to survive. And you begin to see in life form the very people who saved our ancestors. They're living today in spirit through the past nominees, finalists, laureates, many of whom are here today, and the ones that are this year's selected finalists. And so that's the idea. And that recognition that humans stepping in to help others is this very powerful driving force to call us all to action. As I think all of you know, we follow the notion, the mantra of gratitude in action. It's not enough to give thanks. We'd have to give thanks throughout our lives every day in order for us to justify the benefit we got of a second chance at life. But it's really a different feeling to express gratitude in one's action, whether that's through support, volunteerism, financial, and all sorts of other ways. And so we are calling certainly all Armenians on the planet today and everybody on the world to join a movement of gratitude and action. And Aurora is a growing movement in that regard. It's also a very unique prize in that it basically encourages this cycle of gratitude in action, in that the actual prize winnings are shared with up to 3 institutions that each of the finalists nominate. And those institutions receive the expression of the finalists' gratitude as well, the laureates' gratitude. And again, that cycle of folks who have received the help of others now being in a position to help organizations is also an important factor. So you'll hear more about that as you see the panel discussion. I want to welcome this year's laureates, our finalists as well, and we look forward to hearing their stories this morning. And with that, it's my pleasure to now pass the podium to a very special person. All of you know there's a special fan base in Armenia. I think it's the entire population for Dr. Tom Katina, who not only was the laureate 2 years ago, but also is now the chairman of our initiative and has been taking on the added burden, as though the work he does in the mountains of Nuba is not already sacrifice enough. He has chosen to add to his duties the sacrifice of helping us spread this message throughout the world, reach out to different constituencies and forge partnerships of Aurora with others who are thinking alike and acting alike. So with that, Tom, please join us, and thank you, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Well, there's a huge crowd here. My gosh. Yeah, it's just for me to welcome everybody, as Nubar just did, to this 3rd annual conversation with the Aurora Humanitarians. So I want everybody just to relax today and really enjoy getting to know our 3 new friends. The uniqueness of Aurora, in addition to what Nubar is talking about, is that this prize is given to people that are not yet well known in the world. It's not like the Nobel Prize where people kind of already know who these people are. These are people whose work is done in the shadows. It's done almost in a vacuum. And one of the hopes of Aurora is that it will shine a spotlight on their work and highlight the plight of the people they're there to serve. So I think this is a very unique and wonderful aspect of Aurora. I know for me personally, the Aurora Prize was a tremendous benefit. It really came along back in 2017 at a time when our work in the Numa Mountains was about ready to collapse due to financial problems. And with some of the prize money, we were able to buy medicines and supplies for a full year and able to keep the work going. And also just the publicity from the prize was a big help in helping us continue with our work. I want to just mention that we have the two prior Aurora laureates, Maggie Berenkidze and Chao Long, who are here with us today. Let's give a round for them. And without further ado, I want to show a short video, and then we'll get on with the conversation. So thank you and enjoy today's talk.
Three Armenians co-founded the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative and launched it on March 10, 2015 in New York. They did so on behalf of the survivors of the Armenian genocide and in gratitude to their saviors. Today, the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative is a network of projects that focus on providing support to urgent humanitarian needs and outstanding, selfless humanitarians. The Aurora Prize. The Aurora Prize for Awakening Humanity was established in order to transform Armenians' gratitude into action by celebrating and supporting the heroic actions of today's self-sacrificing humanitarians. Over 4 years, more than 2,200 nominations have been submitted from over 125 countries in more than 20 languages, putting forward 1,399 candidates. After professionals evaluate the nominations, the selection committee chooses the annual Aurora Humanitarians and Laureate. The committee is comprised of 15 Nobel Peace Prize laureates, former heads of state, and human rights activists, and is chaired by Academy Award-winning actor and philanthropist George Clooney. Since its inception, the Aurora Prize Selection Committee has shortlisted 14 humanitarians for the prize and chosen 3 laureates for their exceptional impact, commitment, and courage. The 2019 Aurora Prize laureate will be announced during the Aurora Forum in October 2019.
Marguerite.
The 2016, 2017, and 2018 laureates, Marguerite Berenkidze, Tom Katina, and Cho La-Ong, have nominated 9 organizations that inspired their work. 23 projects in 15 countries already benefit from this largesse, impacting the lives of more than 850,000 people in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East. The Aurora Humanitarian Initiative continues to provide support to those on the ground who put themselves at risk while helping those in the greatest need and expanding the Aurora impact around the world. Gratitude Scholarships. The descendants of the survivors of the Armenian genocide seek to express gratitude to those who helped save the victims of the genocide by supporting educational initiatives. Aurora has already offered scholarships to 64 students and young scholars to gain a meaningful education and internationally recognized qualification. The program also includes the Amal Clooney Scholarship, the Charles Aznavour Scholarship, and the Lamia Haji Bashar Scholarship. On October 12, 2018, Aurora launched the Vartan Grigoryan Scholarship, seeking to inspire young scholars and researchers to study the Armenian experience of the 20th century. Aurora Engagement. Aurora promotes efforts to preserve and promote Armenian culture and heritage. Various institutions have received $2 million to date in support. From 2016 to 2019, 9,599 volunteers have expressed a desire to get involved in preparations of the Aurora Weekends. Media outlets around the world published more than 3,000 articles and stories covering the Aurora Prize and the projects of the initiative. The Aurora Prize social media channels reached over 198 million people. Contributors and partners. Since its founding, more than 3,000 individuals and organizations have been inspired to join the founders and donate towards transforming a nation's gratitude to action. More than $53 million has been spent to implement the programs of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative. Around $16 million came as contributions by generous supporters of Aurora. The rest was donated by the co-founders. The Aurora Humanitarian Initiative is transforming the Armenian experience into a global movement, committed to inspiring everyone to act based on a recognition of our common humanity. Ararat Challenge. The Ararat Challenge is a video-based crowdfunding campaign set to increase the impact and reach of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative, whose projects combat poverty, improve healthcare, and provide education to those in need. At the core of the campaign is Mount Ararat, a universal symbol of renewal and second chances. The Ararat Challenge is open to everyone. The participants follow the simple steps to create their own Ararat Challenge videos and share them with their friends online, inspiring others to embrace Aurora's mission of empowering successive generations of humanitarians. We believe that empowering individuals who save lives, despite great personal risk, offers hope to those in need and inspires global action. Join us and give life and hope to those with the most urgent humanitarian needs.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the moderator of today's conversation, Salpi Gazarian, Director of the Institute of Armenian Studies at the University of Southern California.
Thank you. In Aurora shorthand, this film is called the Impact Video. And the reasons are obvious. It's truly a privilege to be amongst individuals who daily perform tasks that many of us only think about when we sometimes watch CNN. In order to really drive home the work of this year's humanitarians, please join me in watching 3 short videos before we continue with the conversation.
In my youth, I was able to get free education and became a barrister, but it has changed. Many children have no access to education. In 2007, I opened my school to help less privileged children to get an education. I started with 36 orphans. In 2009, Boko Haram insurgency broke out. They attacked churches, they attacked mosques, and virtually everything they see, they attack. Since then, people live in constant fear because they don't know when Boko Haram strike. Tens of thousands killed, thousands of kids became orphans. Boko Haram translates roughly as Western education is forbidden. They want children to be educated in their ways and girls to stay away from school. In 2014, Boko Haram abducted 276 school girls in Chibok town. This issue got international attention. I was chosen to be a mediator for Chibok girls' release. As a trained mediator, I negotiated with Boko Haram people. I first asked them that I'm doing this thing for humanity, not for any other gratitude from either them or government. I mediated for more than 6 months before they gave me a point of exchange. I don't have any doubt. If they are killing themselves, the likelihood of killing me is also there. But God has it that I will be the one to go there. So they brought the girls and handed them over to me. I mediated 103 girls in total. Since Boko Haram insurgency, many children don't go to school. They don't have any means of livelihood. They are now roaming the street. When somebody tells them that there is a garden in heaven for them to go there tomorrow, then the only means for them to go and die is to go into this suicide bombing. So the only way we can stop this is to give them livelihood and education. Now we have 2,000 children in Future Progress Foundation. They get both Islamic and Western education. Our system, we are able to integrate it to be one. So we now call integrated education that people are given in the school.
This is the monitor. As you can see, the screen in front of
Many children have no means of livelihood. We give them food, we give them clothes. I had to get individuals who support the school. We also set up a widows program. They are mothers of our children. We put them into cooperatives and help them to get a livelihood. Fathers of most of our children were killed in Boko Haram insurgency. We are able to have children from different backgrounds. The security forces, the Boko Haram, my own biological children, they are all embedded in the school. All of them, we see them as children, and that's why we call them a school where every child matters.
Because we just live a kind of equal life and diversity. We don't see any difference between ourselves. And we have the Christian students, we live together, we eat together, we do everything together.
They de-radicalize girls and boys whose parents were Boko Haram, but currently they are the best children anybody could have in this world.
I took the director of the school as my father. So even if I remember my father was killed, but still I remember that I have father in school.
My children are special because they accept others. The victimizers are friends. And this will be the children that will even say, I am Boko Haram. I say, what about it? My father died for that cause. But I don't believe in that. And this is what I believe you people should be doing.
I've always been an active citizen. I was a lawyer. I defended the abused and imprisoned women, those who couldn't find defense lawyers in courts. The Yemeni society is a closed and patriarchal one, where the vulnerable groups, women and children, suffer from many problems. That's why I have created and led a human rights foundation that monitors and registers such violations. War came to my country a few years ago. The Houthi movement has occupied a major part of the country. Radical Islamist groups also took advantage of the chaos by occupying a big part of the Yemeni territory. The government called upon the Arab coalition for help. At first, the coalition troops helped free Yemen from the Houthi. But soon, they came to be a threat to the population of the country as well. We were monitoring violations when night searches and arrests started. We talked to the relatives of the detainees, gathering information. That's how we learned about secret prisons where thousands of people were kept illegally on a mere suspicion of liaison with the insurgents. Those prisons are located in ill-fitted places like schools, security officers' houses, and even nightclubs. Little by little, a terrible reality was revealed. The inmates aren't visited by friends and family. They aren't fed properly. According to the sanitary regulations, there are no medical exams. The conditions are simply inhumane. Those camps are overcrowded, and skin and respiratory diseases are widespread. When we finally managed to get the first group of people out, even more terrifying things came to light. People are regularly tortured in those camps. On these pieces of plastic, one of the inmates has drawn the tortures he has endured. People are suspended in air and electrocuted, beaten and raped. People are afraid to talk. The country is at war, and security measures are still controlled by the coalition troops, especially in the south. We managed to raise awareness of the situation among the international organizations and media. As a result, more than 100 inmates were liberated. I created an association of mothers of the kidnapped and incarcerated. We were protesting and demanding to stop illegal arrests and the extrajudicial violence. I wasn't afraid to speak up, and soon became the target of an organized defamation campaign in the social media. There are certain peculiarities of the position of women in Yemen. In such conditions, it's easy to bully a woman, to take vengeance on her, especially if she's a human rights activist, to demonize her, to besmirch her good name. I was called all kinds of names. Some wrote that I was a Western spy, others that I was a radical Islamist and a terrorist. Strangers called me with death threats. So simply because you bring such violations into the light, you end up being scrutinized, and your life is in danger, or your family members' lives. This spring, the scariest thing in my life has happened to me. During the unrest in the city, my son got severely wounded. The healthcare in Aden is terrible, and I wanted to get him abroad, but couldn't because of the blockade. My son died in ICU, and I couldn't help him. And nobody helped me. Even the security officers didn't investigate. In fact, even today, I still don't know why my child was wounded and killed. Was it connected to my work? And is that all I deserve, indifference to my son's case? Of course, my boy's death has changed a lot. Now, I'm terrified for my children's safety because I didn't give up my fight for the human rights. My first and foremost goal is to live in a safe environment with no human rights violations. In an environment where all people are equal citizens, and their human dignity is protected, and there's social justice. That's my dream I want to make come true.
For many years, I live in peaceful Germany. Here I have my home, wife, and children who speak German better than our mother tongue. But my thoughts are always with the victimized Yazidi people. Yazidi is a peaceful, small community. They live mainly in northern Iraq. We have our own culture and religion. That's why Islamic extremists oppress us for 100 years. Saddam regime forcibly registered the Yazidis as Arab. Since my childhood, I saw how the Yazidis were discriminated. I was at the university active in a student group for the rights of the Yazidis. Saddam regime, they arrested my father and brother for more than 1 year for this political engagement that I had. And I had to escape. And then I decided to leave Iraq at all. So I came to Germany in 1995. In 2007, Al-Qaeda exploded truck bombs. 310 innocent Yazidis were killed. Hundreds were injured. I managed to bring 6 most severely wounded children to German hospitals, a mission that has changed my life. We established a small NGO called Luftbrücke Iraq, which means Air Bridge Iraq. Our goal was to treat victims of terror in Germany. I decided to fight terrorism with our humanity whenever I can till now. In 2014, ISIS occupied the whole region Sinjar where Yazidi lived. They killed thousands of men and captured 6,500 women and children. About 170,000 Yazidis escaped to the Mount Sinjar, the place for 20,000 maximum. So the humanitarian crisis started. We asked the Iraqi government to help the victims. So they decided to bring the food and water to the mount on a helicopter and bring the most vulnerable people to the safe area. I knew all these areas of region Sinjar, and I volunteered to fly with a helicopter. We made several flights a day. each time. People collected around the place we were in, and everyone wanted to jump to the helicopter. That day, we were much overloaded. So soon after takeoff, the helicopter lost the balance and crashed. The pilot died. Others survived by miracle. I have broken my leg and 2 ribs. I said, there is a reason that I survived, and I have to work for this reason, and there's no time to die. First week, within the wheelchair, I went to Geneva and participated in the special session of Human Rights Council. I asked, with tears in my eye, to help the captured Yazidi women and children. Yazidi girls were sex slaves. ISIS established systematically slavery market and slavery procedure, and women were used as slaves like 1,000 years ago. I visited the first 2 girls who escaped from the captivity of ISIS. They were completely traumatized. Their husbands and fathers were killed. They have been sold many times. There was no sufficient trauma therapy for such cases in Iraq. I encouraged Western countries to help these women, and German government agreed to welcome 1,100 ex-ISIS slaves. I interviewed hundreds of them, and I was completely finished from inside. I couldn't sleep in the night. I had nightmares. I was crying every day. Lamia and 2 other girls tried to escape from ISIS, but 1 girl pressed on the landmine. It killed both girls. Lamia was completely burned and blind. I managed to bring her to Germany. We saved one of her eyes. She became a strong voice for the women victims of the war. On the 3rd of August, we gathered to commemorate the anniversary of Yazidi genocide. This day, ISIS occupied our land. I am trying to encourage international community to establish special court to recognize Yazidi genocide. Unfortunately, after the Armenian genocide and then the Jews genocide, everybody said never again. But it has happened. I have a dream to change the world so the genocide will never happen again.
When have we heard that before? I'm going to introduce the humanitarians one by one, invite them to take a seat there, and we will continue the conversation. And when they are all seated, I ask that you all stand, because I think that the message that they bring to us in all of the languages that we're going to go through is special, an honor, unique, and they deserve it. First, Ms. Huda Al-Sariri, please. That last chair. Mr. Zanna Mustafa, please. And Mr. Mirza Denai. We'll deal with this later. After all that, you'd think I'd get this right. Pari Luis, good morning. Sabah al-khair. And I practice this, Ndawatu, in the Kanoli language in which Zanna speaks. I'm going to refer to our guests as Huda and Zanna and Mirza because our task here and Aurora's task is really a complex one. On the one hand, we're talking about, if not heroes, if we have consciously chosen not to call them heroes because they're regular people, certainly heroic acts. And on the other hand, we want to keep saying that these are regular people. They've chosen to do what they do, but they're regular people. And so, we're going to speak this morning with Huda and Zanna and Mirza about who they are, what they do, why they do what they do, and the obstacles that they encounter. You know, for years in the United States, there were posters that said, wouldn't it be wonderful if education got all the money it needed and got more money every year, and it was the Defense Department and the military that had to sell cakes and cookies to make money. And in an odd way, that's what we're doing here. Aurora, among other NGOs, is doing this fundamental work, God's work, man's work, work that has to do with justice and with saving people's lives. It's not governments doing it, it's people doing it. The humanitarians, the guests here today, this is CNN Live. We've got the Yemen war with Huda. We have the continuing horrors that we all watched with the Boko Haram with Zanna. And with Mirza, we have the unending tragedies of Iraq. And these three individuals are going to help us understand how we can try to work with them and make the world a little bit better. Thank you for coming. We'll start with the easy stuff. Mirza, what obstacles do you come across that are absurd, that you shouldn't have to deal with? We're not talking about safety, security, money, just absurd obstacles, things that you have to deal with that make no sense.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm so proud to be one of the three humanitarians besides Zanna and Huda, which is, and it's very important for me as a member of a community which is undergo until now was an ongoing genocide, to be part of the Aurora family, which was based actually on the story of one of the survivors of Armenian genocide 100 plus years ago. So there are every one of us sometimes you don't know why you have been chosen for this reason. And if you are a believer, you would say, God has chosen me. If you are not, you will say, there is a destiny. And sometimes you are upset about it yourself because you say, I know more things than the others, therefore I have more duty than the others. But the obstacles in everywhere and every step you do, even in the humanitarian work, even if you want to give somebody food who has hunger, you will find around you some people who want to stop you to do that. There are many kinds of obstacles. There are political obstacles. There are jailers around the humanitarian work, and it is a field, it is a grave field where you make yourself very easy attack, and attacked by the people.
It's not going to make sense to most of us.
But the issue is, whenever, for example, the first issue that I did 12 years ago as Al-Qaeda attacked 2 Yazidi villages and brought spontaneously 6 children from Iraq to treat them in Germany. So the first thing that I saw in the eyes of the children as we saved their life from the death and for their people, and it was this small hope that changed my life totally from this point, 2007, until now. And everywhere when a new crisis comes, you feel yourself more responsible to do something. Even whatever that's happened around you, even But you will find also many people just like this initiative that encouraging you to do. And very normal people, you are walking on the street and you'll feel someone is coming and say, I saw that in the Facebook, or I heard about you, and this is enough for you. You know that you are doing the correct way.
Facebook helps?
I think yes. There is a lot of fake news also in the Facebook, but I think the social media is helping the ordinary people like us to be communicated with each other. We have many side effects of that also, but it is helping also to bring. Sometimes you write a small message in the Facebook and you will find the people are reacting.
Huda, you spoke about losing your child in the film. Tell us about your family.
أولاً شكراً جزيلاً بأنني اليوم حاضرة في هذا الحشد الكريم، وإنه كمان تم اختياري ضمن الفائزين إلى جانب زملائي بجائزة الأرورا. هذه الجائزة التي تعطى للمدافعين عن حقوق الإنسان حتى يستمروا بالعطاء وحتى يشجعوا غيرهم من المدافعين ببذل المزيد من الجهود وبذل المزيد من الدفاع عن حقوق الإنسان. جئت من بلد متخمة بالحرب، متخمة بالجراح، تكالبت عليها كل القوى الخارجية والداخلية. لليوم في بلدي الناس تقتل، الأبرياء تقتل شمالاً وجنوباً شرقاً وغرباً. كنت مثل أي مواطن، وولدي أيضاً كان مثل أي طفل. كان من المفترض أن يكون معي، كان يشجعني حتى أحصل على جائزة الأرورا. للأسف ابني قتل أثناء ما هو كان مر في الطريق بطلق ناري في مظاهرة كانت موجودة في محافظة عدن، نتيجة قيام عناصر أمنية بقتل أحد شاهدين في قضية اغتصاب طفل. جهاز أمني يقوم باغتصاب أطفال، وولدي ذهب إلى الاحتجاجات وقتل. لم أستطع مساعدته، كنت أتفرج له شهر كامل وهو في العناية المركزة ولم أستطع مساعدته، لم أستطع أن أقدم له العناية الصحية اللازمة. نحن في حصار، مطار عدن مغلق، لم أستطع أن أسعفه، تكاليف العلاج كانت غالية، مات ولم أستطع أن أعمل له شيء. لولا أن أسرتي وقفت بجانبي، حقيقة هما يخافون من الدور الذي أقوم به، لأنه كل العمل الذي نقوم به محفوف بالمخاطر. خسرت ولدي، لكن ملايين وآلاف الأمهات داخل محافظات عدن ومحافظات أخرى شمالاً وجنوباً تقف يومياً بالحر في المطر، يعترضها الجنود المسلحون ويعتدوا عليهن للمطالبة بأبنائهن، بمعرفة مصير أبنائهن، هل هم أحياء أو قد قتلوا تعذيباً بقتل خارج نطاق القانون. للأسف كان ابني محسن يشجعني على أن أخوض هذه التجربة، والحمد لله تم اختياري لهذه الجائزة. الجائزة هذه التي تمنح ليست لي، هي لأمهات المختطفين والمعتقلين ولولدي أيضاً الذي لم أستطع أن أنقذ حياته.
You're a woman doing things that women sometimes are not supposed to be doing, they say. Is there anything about what you do that is easier because you're a woman?
لأكون صادقة، المسألة صعبة جداً للقيام بالعمل الذي أقوم به. هناك أكثر من طرف نزاع موجود في اليمن، الكل يعتقل، الكل يقتل، الكل يختطف، الكل لديه سجون سرية. بداية كان العمل صعب جداً، ظلينا نعمل لسنوات، لم يكن أحد يعلم ماذا نقوم به. طرقنا أبواب عدة حتى نعرف العالم ونعرف الناس ماذا يحدث داخل محافظات الجمهورية في اليمن. هناك كان آلاف المعتقلين، آلاف المختطفين، كانت هناك مداهمات ليلية لبيوت وأسر يعتقلوا ويطلق عليهم الرصاص، يختطفوا من منازلهم دون علم أجهزة القضاء. كان هذا الشيء غريب جدا على اليمن. هناك قوانين، هناك أنظمة متعارف عليها، لكن للأسف منذ الحرب هدت أو دمرت كل هذه القوانين. لا يستطيع أحد من المحامين أن يتكلم عن ماذا يحدث، لا يستطيع أحد من منظمات المجتمع المحلي أن يظهر للعلن ويقول هناك اختطافات. الكل سيتعرض للاختطاف، الكل سيتعرض للموت. لكن حقيقة عندما شاهدت الأمهات ووصلتنا العديد من البلاغات والشكاوى بأن هناك العديد من الأشخاص يعتقلوا ويختطفوا من منازلهم، قررت أن أقف وأن أقول للعالم ماذا يحدث داخل محافظة عدن. رصدت ودخلت منازل المعتقلين، تواصلت مع الأمهات، كونا رابطة أمهات المعتقلين والمختطفين داخل محافظة عدن. كنا نخرج للاحتجاجات، كنا نقول للإعلام أن هناك انتهاكات تحدث داخل اليمن. هناك عدة أطراف تقوم بهذه الاعتقالات، هناك سجون سرية كثيرة جدا داخل عدن بالذات تقوم بها الإمارات العربية المتحدة وأيضا أطراف أخرى في النزاع. فحاولنا أن نبرز للعالم ماذا يحدث، والحمد لله صارت الآن القضية معروفة أن هناك سجون سرية، وما زالت الاعتقالات موجودة ومستمرة، وما زال آلاف المعتقلين لا زالوا يقبعون داخل السجون السرية، وهناك أيضا مخفيين لا نعلم مصيرهم، هل هم أحياء أم أموات.
The natural question to all of you, and I'm going to ask Zanna, is your own individual safety and the network around you, your defense mechanisms, your solidarity, your network, your base. What is it? How is it? Zanna, we were talking about safety inside before we came here. Fame, you became very well known as you were in the midst of those negotiations. Does that protect you? Does that make your job harder? Are you less safe? Do you care?
Well, thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be found worthy to be a panelist of this Aurora Forum. And obviously, protections, when you talk of protection, it is only God that protects. And protection is always coming within and not without. That it has to be you finding protection for yourself. So the primary aim of which one does any other work is that whether that thing you are doing is worthy to do it. You don't mind the risks involved or the atmosphere, whether it's conducive for you to do it. You have to find an enabling environment for yourself to do that. And in my own case, I am embedded in the same community where I live, and that is why the Boko Haram is also embedded. So for me to say I am safe at a certain period in time, that for my wildest dream, it hasn't been that. But the only thing is that I have a tax, and that tax has to be done. And that is in fight to do what humanity likes. And that is what I always look at. Like, I have my own biological children being part of these children. And the two types of the debate are also in the same school. So the only thing that I can say that helps is that our diversity is the strength in that school.
Our capacity is?
Diversity is our strength in that school. And the inclusive nature of everybody is in that community also helps. Because what we do here is that it is not only about the children. The widows, who are also of the various sides of the debate, are also embedded in the school. They are the ones who are making the school feeding program. So they are always there. So there is nobody who feels, I am not part of this project. So they always feel the project is theirs, not somebody else. So that is where the protection, if there is any, that comes from.
You know, you can tweet questions that will come to me on this clever little device. So please feel free to do that. And in about 20 minutes, we'll start taking your questions. What is success in what you do? Where is this an endless path for you personally? How do you define success? How do you say, okay, I've done enough of this. This is now working. I've reached a point, and I will go on. Do you see that? Do you have a head on the gut?
Time limit.
Projection.
Yeah, what happened actually is that whenever you are doing certain things, first you should see the success. What will be the success of this thing? And then you have a timeline upon which you say you have this thing. One, when I started this thing in 2007. 2007.
7.
Yes. I have never thought that the Boko Haram insurgency will come on board. But in 2009, a lot of people were killed. Their wives and children were cast on the street. And nobody is identifying with them. I felt at that period that as a humanitarian, as somebody who has ventured into this project much earlier than the Boko Haram. So I felt I can also encompass those children to be part of this. And that I am not particular on any person. And the offense of children, fathers should not be that of the children or the widows, because that's are separate individuals. But in law, maybe the wife and husband may be one. But in crime, they can be one. So that is why I stood by them and then find an enabling environment for them to do well. And these are some of the instruments that I can say that helps, or the tools that helps in me mediating between the two, because I have been seen as an impartial umpire on the project.
Where are those girls now?
Sorry?
Where are the girls that you helped save?
Well, they are in safety and in schools. And one of the ironies is that when I see this and it's an American institution, they are also in an American institution in Nigeria.
And Mirza, where are the children that you've helped? You showed us one who now continues to speak up and bring the Yazdi issue to the world's attention. Where are the others? What do they do?
So actually, from the sorry. So actually, our project that was started 2007 until now, usually we bring the children to Germany for short-term treatment and bring them back. The project that I was engaged in 2015 after the Yazidi genocide, it was the German project, was initiated by the state Baden-Württemberg. I was responsible of the receiving program in Kurdistan, in Iraq. And it was a resettlement project. We have resettled 1,100 women and children to Germany. They are now there. About 60% were children and 40% of women, mainly who have been sexually abused. And they are, since 2015 in Germany, 95% of them remain in Germany, and they are going to the schools. They are completely
integrated into society.
Completely integrated. In some of them, when I walk in the street in some of the cities in Germany, I see one of the a teenager. He said, "Do you know me? You brought me 2015 to Germany," and they are very well integrated in Germany. Some of them now in the college. So it's depend on the kind of those beneficiaries and victims.
Huda, your situation is a little bit different. Zanna and Mizra see the results of their work, the positive results, little by little, but they see them. Do you see positive results? What are your positive results?
حقيقة كنت أتمنى في بداية عملي وفي بداية حدوث الانتهاكات أن يرى العالم ويسمع وأن
My
يعلم
hope at
كل
the beginning
المنظمات
was
الدولية
that the
وأن
world
يعلم
would
الإعلام
know
الداخلي
that
والخارجي
this
ماذا يحدث.
secret prison
تحقق
network
هذا الحلم بالنسبة لي لكن هدفي
is actually
الأسمى لم
happening.
يتحقق بعد. ما زالت هناك
And this
أطراف
actually
الصراع
happened.
ترتكب
The world knew
الانتهاكات
that this is happening,
بحق
but
المواطنين
the
وبحق الأبرياء.
final aim
ما
is,
زال
has not been
والآلاف
achieved
مخفيين
because
ومعتقلين.
thousands are still being
لا
detained.
توجد أجهزة إنفاذ قانون تحاسب المنتهكين
There is no a system of rule of law that can help in releasing those detainees or even reveal the fate of those who have been forcefully disappeared. And this is my goal, and this is my vision, that I will work until we find a rule of law, a system that will help all victims. And I hope that everyone and all human rights defenders will work and help us to highlight until we achieve this goal. My end goal is that I hope all the violators don't enjoy impunity, and to get justice for those victims and give a recognition to the mothers who go out daily. They go in front of the Ministry of Justice, they go in front of the Red Cross, even if until today they still haven't seen any concrete results. So in my opinion, my final aim still hasn't been achieved. There's still a lot to be done. Yes, now many people now know about my work, and people and our generation started to see hope through creating a system of freedoms, a democratic state, a system of justice and equality. Even if the violators agree on seeing a system of oppression and injustices.
What would you do with the Aurora Prize? If you received the Aurora Prize, if you were the laureate this year, what would you do with that prize?
لدي مشروع إنني سوف أتبنى فريق قانوني.
I have a project that I want to create a legal team of lawyers who will help me to enhance the rule of law in my country and ensure that the violators cannot enjoy impunity. And I want to provide the reintegration of the people who suffer torture and when they get try to reintegrate into the community. And I want to provide psychological and social support to the mothers until they find peace and hopefully see back their sons.
And Mirza, what would you do?
Well, the Yazidi genocide is ongoing and the struggle is so long. We are so lucky that in the last, we say that the Yazidi are survivors of 72 genocide during the history, but this is the first time that the international world heard our voice. But the struggle is so long. The issue of the minorities and the plight of the minorities in Iraq is so difficult, and we need to work first for the victims of ISIS, especially the victimized women and children and the victims of the sexual abuse. What we want to help the people, especially of Sinjar, to some sustainable project that they can help them save their life, and the advocacy for the Yazidi genocide, because until now those perpetrators who committed the crimes against the Yazidis and the Christian in Iraq, they are free. So the struggle is so long, and the need of my community, 80% of the community is still in the tent, living in tent as refugees. They cannot return back to their area. Aurora Prize would be a very big and huge support for the Yazidi issue and for the survivors of the Yazidi genocide in general.
And Zanna, what would you do?
Well, no matter how honestly one may wish to lay content to this belief that the insurgency has not come to an end, really, we are in a stage that this is a period that we need dialogue, we need stabilization, and then we need education. And these are areas that I see the Aurora is very much on dialogue and in education too. And I will use the same mechanism, that the existing mechanism in the school, which is the dialogue, which is also the education. I can use the Aurora platform as a conduit for me to spur the various efforts that is being put in place, like the education and ask the dialogue and the stabilization. And these are the areas that we may use in.
And what do we do? What do I do? What can any of us do if we are not as selfless, as ready to sacrifice, and as heroic as you are? I am me, I have good intentions, I want to do something. What can I do?
Well, the only thing is that you have to key into our projects. The projects are that you can sponsorship. And this is an area which I also avail myself with this opportunity to call on the AUA, which is this university, for us to be included among those countries that may benefit from the scholarship, because these are an area where they may also wish to know what happened and how it happens. And when you bring out these children who are either victimizer, or survivors of this, I think that will also be a gratitude in action for us to do that.
You're very good.
Thank you.
Huda, what can I do? What can we do? We're not attorneys. What do we do?
حقيقة أنتم قدمتم الكثير، أنتم وضعتونا في أول السلم ونحن
Actually,
علينا
you did
مواصلة
do a lot.
المسيرة.
You've already put us on the first step of the ladder.
سوف تكون لي داعم كبير جدا أولا بتسليط.
The prize will actually help to highlight the violations that are happening inside Yemen. No one actually realized the amount of violations that is happening. People will actually see the reality as it is. The international community have to see the disaster that is happening in my country. We have a responsibility towards the victims, especially towards the women, especially the mothers, the wives, the sisters. And they are the real heroes who are standing day after day. For me, the case was actually that I believed in them, in those women. And now, after I lost my child, I felt, how do they feel? How do they feel after they lost their children? And now it became my cause until justice is achieved.
So your task is to make us aware of this violence, and my task is to do what with that information? What do I do with that information? How do I help you? Can I?
تحقيق العدالة للضحايا هذا الأهم. إنصاف الضحايا وجبر ضررهم هذا الأهم.
We need to achieve justice and to ensure that violators don't enjoy impunity. We need to create a system of justice in our country, and for the mothers to feel a form of recognition that everyone know about their struggle and what they are facing. Especially in our country, that there is no rule of law. This is my dream, that we will revive a rule of law in our country and see all of those detainees out. So we need to create a legal team across the world among international organizations work together until they can achieve a legal team that can unite and come together.
You continually talk about mothers. You know, in Central America, in Turkey, it was the mothers of the disappeared, those who were killed, who stood up. And it's interesting that you continue to refer to what mothers can do. Mirza, what can we do in solidarity with your work? What's our role?
So let me tell you that every single one here in this room is as hero. But the difference is only, is there a media that to show? Because if you check your life, you can't do, you did many things in your life, very, very good and heroic things that the people are not aware about that. And for Yazidi issue, please don't allow the international community to forget the victims of the genocide. What we see, for example, by the Armenian genocide, after 100 years, there are some countries they are denying to make a symbolic apologize for that. The Yazidi 5 years gone for the Yazidi genocide, and until now there is no a court was established for the crimes of the ISIS, and there are many countries. So what we need from the ordinary people to bring more awareness to the politician, in their countries, to the parliament in their countries, to encourage the Iraq to do something. You can imagine, I left Iraq with 20, and until 20, you feel you are in a country as a member of a minority. We are infidel according to the majority in Iraq. So you see yourself in front of the majority as a guilty one. If you do the good job, they say, it was not good. You are doing good job, but you are a Yazidi, or you are a Christian, or you are a Jew. So you are a citizen third degree in your country, among your people. You are grown together. And within one day, these people attack you, just was happened in every genocide in Congo, in Rwanda, in Turkey, in Iraq, in Boko Haram. So all these happen, and to stop this kind of genocide, we as ordinary people in democratic countries, we should encourage our governments to make more and more sustainable measures to stop such kinds of genocide that never happen again in any place more. So this is what everyone, single one of us should do. We have democratic country, we can encourage our government to do more for the people.
Well, all three of your messages should resonate in this hall. We certainly understand what happens when there's genocide, and the world maybe knows, maybe doesn't know, maybe cares, maybe doesn't care. We certainly understand the value of education, because that's what's worked for us in this last 100 years. And we most certainly understand the situation of mothers who lose their children, mothers who themselves are lost to their children. So if this message doesn't resonate in this hall and with this community, I don't know what to say. Tell us a little bit about the Aurora process. I have a question that says, how did you decide to apply? And of course, Aurora is not by application. Someone must nominate you. And I know that this is a lengthy process. So if you can, if it's an interesting story, if it isn't, don't tell me, but if it is, how did you first hear that you were one of the Aurora 573 nominees this year? And then what happens after that? Misra, how did you first hear?
Well, first, I didn't know anything, to be honest. I knew that there is an event or something, I think 2015, I was aware that there is something for the memorial of the Armenian genocide, because we celebrated in Iraq, in the Armenian community, the 100 year of the after Armenian genocide. And I heard from the international media that, and I even don't know who nominated me until this moment. I don't know if it is a secret or not. But I got an email, and they say you have been nominated for that. If you agree, we are going to the farther there are. So I checked in the internet and I said, it is my pleasure. You know, especially for me, I wasn't, especially in the last 5 years, completely in stress in my life, and sometimes I was completely traumatized because I interviewed 1,300 women and children, mainly sexually abused, and I was completely at the end, and many people, this is also usual in the life of the humanitarian work. Sometimes you are helping the one who is not thankful for you, and which is very normal. Please don't be upset about that. You should take it. You should take it in your consideration that no prophet is accepted in his community. So this is also very normal. You will be attacked from your neighbor, from your brother, because you couldn't help him directly. So if you become an email from an international organization, they say, well, you are accepted even as a nominee. You say, oh God, then I do a good job. Otherwise the people will not write about me. So I was completely pleased to be announced, and I agreed. And then the process, I think several shortlisting was happened in the behind. We didn't know anything until I think end of January. I got another email, and they said, yeah, you're supposed to be chosen one of the 3, but there are another procedure, and would you agree with that? And and that the process
it's
took
quite
long
a task
time.
to whittle down from 523 to 3. Zanna, I'm going to ask you the same question, but I'm also going to ask you a question that someone has sent to tell us a little bit about how you did the negotiating in those difficult days, especially since you're a part of that community. So 2 questions.
Well, the obvious question that comes to mind is that, how do I do it? Well, in that foundation, we have everybody. Everybody is involved in that foundation. We have the children of the Boko Haram, the widows, the security officers' wives are also there. So how do I get an entry point? That is obviously, we have the widows. The widows have been putting us through.
How?
At least they know the wives of some of their friends. You know, like we are here, we have families. When I die, my family knows the family to Mirza, at least. If we have a common purpose, the 2 can communicate, not minding that I am dead, but at least the families are there for them to make communications. So that helps in getting this in. And how do I do it? Well, I have been seen as an impartial empire. 1, because when nobody identifies with these children, when nobody identifies with these widows, I was there with them, giving them education, giving them some subsistence.
You were trusted.
Yes, and a livelihood training. These are in tailoring, shoemaking, and other things. Because in the traditional African setting, when the husband is no more, the wife is as vulnerable as the children. So they are at the same, virtually at the same level. So when you assist this, at the time when nobody identifies with them, so they now look at it that even at the hair time, that when you talk, they listen. So that are the only conduits that we used.
And when you heard about the Aurora Prize?
Sorry?
When you were contacted that you
are... that is mystery at the first place, because when I was when I saw the email, I was at the stage, who could have done this? And why do they find me worthy when I saw the total number of those applications that made it?
You questioned yourself. You didn't question what the Aurora Prize is.
Yes.
You questioned yourself.
Yes. So what I did was that I pasted that invitation on my Facebook page, on the foundation Facebook page. So somebody, a lecturer in the English department of the University of Maiduguri, Dr. Sunday Bola, said, I did. Listen. I said, what is it that you wrote that they can accept me as one? So I just want to see the letter. I said, no. He said, he cannot give me. But that is an amazing thing that happened, really. Up to this very time, I don't know what he could have wrote on me that I don't know, that I will be found worthy to come and sit here. So that is the thinkings within me, really.
Huda, 2 questions to you, the same question, but also this business of negotiating and trust. In your effort to bring rule of law, to bring justice, to find the disappeared, to stop the process of secret prisons, unaccountability, impunity, who is the other side? Who are you talking to, convincing, fighting with? Who is the other side? Is it the government? Is it militias? Who is your adversary? Who's the other side that has to be negotiated with and convinced?
طبعا في بداية عملنا في رصد وتوثيق انتهاكات الاعتقالات التعسفية والاختطافات.
At the beginning, when we started working in documenting, we started at the beginning to talk and communicate and negotiate with the judiciary and through the local civil society. So we started talking to the judges, through the prosecutors, the general attorney. I talked to the head of aid and security, the heads of the camps where the prisons are located. But because they act like militias that don't follow the rule of law, and they don't follow the state hierarchy, so I started to negotiate with the official state apparatus. But there was constant obstacles created by the United Arab Emirates through supporting and funding those militants, and the United Arab Emirates tried to prevent and create obstacles for the rule of law to not being implemented and to violate the state apparatus. And their forces are the ones who fund, weaponize, and even sometimes raid and conduct those operations against anyone who opposed the United Arab Emirates or even express a different points of opinion. So I started to try to highlight this issue. Even the civil society at the beginning, I faced huge difficulties because no one was able to speak. They were very afraid at the beginning. I used to leave house, I'm not sure that I'm gonna go back home, especially when I started receiving threats, death threats. So it was a constant fear and living in tension. And when I'm not even afraid of myself, I'm afraid of my children, my family, my relatives. So it was so hard. And I was always feeling the pressure and the frustration. But finally, when people started speaking, even when I received the nomination, I saw actually there is a hope. There's actually people, my friend, Bara helped me, and I thank him because he continued the process of communicating and contacting the Aurora and supported me during my hard time through when my child passed away.
In each of your situations, clearly you're seemingly, at least for the two of you, for Huda and Mirza, your number one goal seems to be to get the world's attention to change things at home. Okay, that requires at least an international platform, and in some ways Aurora gives you that. But it also requires internal information, understanding. What are the information dissemination processes within your societies? Are there formal media channels that you can use, or is it all informal? Word of mouth, people trusting, civil society? How do you get that hope to your own society and people?
أولاً عبر التواصل مع المنظمات الدولية العاملة في مجال حقوق الإنسان، هذا مهم جداً.
First of all was through the international organizations interested in human rights. Because at the beginning we started to disseminate information, just send a lot of information and the documentation to the relevant organizations, especially international organizations like Amnesty International, like Human Rights Watch, even press agencies, international press agencies, to start highlighting the issue. Until finally they started to come into Aden.
What about inside your society?
لم تكن هناك قنوات تدعم قضيتي أو العمل الذي أقوم.
There were no channels inside. There are no channels inside that started to only after the international press agencies started to highlight the issue, then people started to notice that this is an important issue. But then I started being attacked by those security forces and by the media channels that are supporting them, that I am spreading misinformation, that I'm trying to disseminate false information.
That category of fake news exists. It's an easy excuse for so many things. Mirza, what are your internal news information dissemination mechanisms? Is it all informal? It's just word of mouth?
So actually very interesting. We are mainly farmer community, but as social media came to the Yazidi community, the most of the Yazidis are using Facebook and social media. So very interesting in Iraq in general. But one of the important points through our German project, the project of the state Baden-Württemberg, and I should pass my gratitude to the Prime Minister of Baden-Württemberg who was behind that project, and the team, Dr. Michael Blumer, Professor Kieselhan, who implemented that project. For example, one of our beneficiaries was Nadia Murat, who became Nobel Prize. If Nadia was in Iraq, she would live in a tent, ignored and traumatized. So the attention inside the Yazidi community, especially after the rising of the voice of the victims. And for those people who don't know, Yazidis is a closed community. Even the bringing women who were raped by Muslims was against the Yazidi culture 5-6 years ago. Through encouragement of the Yazidi young generation and us in general as Yazidi activists, we could encourage the Yazidi spiritual leaders to accept them back, and not only accept them back, they became even the voice of the community. And there is an interaction inside the Yazidi community for all kinds of news, but unfortunately, because of some political reasons, because of all this conflict that we have now in Iraq and Syria, there is also misuse of the situation of the Yazidis through the militias, through the main power groups who manipulating the situation. And let me tell you, unfortunately, that my community is until now is hopeless, and not only the Yazidis, that non-Muslim minorities in Iraq, the Christian, Yazidi, Mandea, Baha'i. So because they are persecuted, they don't find results from the inside Iraq. So inside the community, you are completely in this hopeless situation, but it is helping such platform and such bringing awareness internationally to them. But again, they are farmer and they will say, so what a price can do for us if we are still in the tent? And they have right. And therefore, on the political level, on the international political level, we should move more in order to change the situation of those minorities in Iraq. And such thing is only possible through such platform like Aurora. Only through this we can, just like a snowball, we can move something forward on the international level in order to reach that point that we establish a kind of peace, a coexistence, and you know, the diversity in Iraq and the richness of those indigenous communities, Chaldea, Assyrian, Armenia, Yazidis, those who are 10,000 years old communities in Iraq, and we should keep this tradition, and without keeping them in there, and if Iraq and the other neighbor countries became only one color countries, we see now the plight in Syria. We see how many people escaped from Syria and Iraq because of their identity as a religious or an ethnic identity. If we don't stop such kind of ethnic cleansing and some kind of silent genocide, in 10 or 20 years we will never find the churches, the synagogues, the temples, nothing more.
And the irony is we're talking about this today as Syria is burning again.
Exactly, exactly.
Zanna, you have, I assume, two tasks in your mission to educate. One is to educate. Is the other one to convince the parents that it's important that their children be in school instead of out working and doing other things? Is that a challenge, or?
There is a shared resistance to education, more especially that of the girl child, in that part of the country I lived. And that my school is one of the largest populations of girls.
One of the lightest?
Yes, in the region. When you talk of a co-education system in that, the 2/3 of the schools are girls. And one of the due diligence we had was that most of those, we don't have parents teachers association. We only have widows association. So the women tend to bring their daughters more.
And where are the
then
boys?
They are under. They found the educations of their daughters worthy as that of their own son. So that's why they often bring the girl child for the school. So that makes the school unique in such an atmosphere. So, and what I'm just saying is that, you know, information dissemination, there is no place where you get such information dissemination when somebody that is born to Boko Haram family saying, what about it? I am going to school. So by the time you bring out this sort of children, who are the likely ones to come and settle for an amicable settlement if we are not able to settle the peace that is eluding us now?
You know, I have a bunch of questions here. All of them, not all of them, many of them are asking the same question. That is, how do you put a stop to atrocities that are man-made? And I think if we asked Maggie Barankitse, the first Aurora laureate, she would say love. If we asked Dr. Tom Katina, the second Aurora laureate, he would say faith. If I'm wrong, they'll tell me, but they're nodding. So far, so good. And if we asked the third Aurora laureate, Mr. Ong, I think he would say law. Yeah? He's laughing. We're good. What would you say? It's this fundamental frustration. We're not doing the everyday work. You are. But just listening to you, just listening to you, we're asking the fundamental, I'm sorry. Somebody else is going to do this next year. Not make less noise. What do we do? What is the long-term, you're putting Band-Aids
Yes.
on a bleeding body.
Yeah. Well, the hope is that when you are doing certain things, and you pride in doing that, and believe in that, so the obvious thing that comes, it's not among the input you put. The output can determine what is the decision. I now got army of children who are now coming to say, we are going to continue our education. In that dark period, when there was no education, I was able to keep my school open. The children's attendance there are backlog of requests for enrollment, despite the doom or the spiral of doom that happens there. So that gives you the hope. And then when you see the output of children that often comes on for this, you will now feel satisfied that you are achieving the aim if you have not achieved that.
Huda, what is the driver? Is it love? Is it faith? Is it law? I'd like to hear from Huda. What is it that drives, that is going to drive long-term peace, humanity? How do we save this bleeding body? I'm not sure it's a question with an answer, but we're asking.
Actually, as human rights defenders, we don't have a magic wand. There will always be challenges, and there will always be obstacles, especially when you are working in a place where there are the conflict is still ongoing. When there is systematic violations happening, and in each part of the country, the first thing I discovered is the documentation. Second thing is decimating of information, trying to make an outreach and bring the victim, shed the light on the victim, let the victim the center of your cause. Only them can bring an end to this conflict. There are many parts. The coalition, for example, is one of them. The United Arab Emirates creating this secret prisons network, we need the state apparatus to restructure itself. So there are a lot of steps that needs to happen, creating a proper judiciary. But the most important thing is that we have to believe in our mission and to keep working and getting strength from the faith of the mothers and the sisters who've never given hope. I always get strength from those women and mothers.
Mirza, the big solution. How does humanity fix this?
One thing, human values. If we strengthen the human values inside all communities, because we as members of the humanity over all the world, we will overcome all these other problems and the diversities, and because the human values is the most thing that connect each one from here to Australia to China to USA. And I think we should have censorship on our human values, implementation of these human values, and we should put that on more pressure on the politician in order to take care on these human values and to change, that unfortunately, the life today on the international political level. So we have a lot of hatred, a lot of populism, and hate speech, and the people, and a lot of people, the drivers for the war. If we bring human values to those people, we will win the war overall.
From your mouth to God's ears. Sometimes it's difficult to explain the Aurora vision. Sometimes Armenians even ask, there are so many things to fix in this country and for Armenians around the world, in the Middle East. Why is Aurora making this global effort? And sometimes it's difficult to explain to the international community why little Armenia is trying to play in the big field. Can you explain back to us why you think the Aurora Prize, the Aurora mission exists? Does it make sense to you, and how do you explain it? When somebody says to you, you went where? You're going to do what? What's your answer? Who are these people? What are they trying to do?
So the spirit is very important, spirit of Aurora. Therefore, I am proud to be only nominated for this prize. The spirit of it, that the grandchildren of genocide survivor, they want to do something in order to stop atrocities over all the world through this platform. And many people, I understand that many people will not understand this value. I had an experience 2007 or 2008. I brought some children from Iraq all of them were Muslim. And the Gast families also were Yazidis. And the child, who was 6 years old, he didn't like to eat the food of the Yazidi family because say it's the food of an infidel, and my parents say don't eat the food from infidel. And my community attacked me in a good way and said, Mirza, why you are bringing those people who are not eating our food? I said, but this is only that we share together. If we should show them that there is a humanity that all of us are sharing in order to fight the extremism. And I think what the Armenian and the Aurora platform is doing to show over all the world, we are not only concerned about small Armenia, we are concerned about all the world. And because we all share the same values. And therefore it's important that the people remind that the best one who can understand the victim is the other victim. And the best one can understand the consequences of genocide are the people who survived the genocide. And this is therefore is the importance of that.
Zanna, please, how do you explain to people why you left Nigeria to come to Armenia?
Yes, what happened actually is I felt at a period, why Armenia? Somebody that has seen the agony of genocide and feeling that there is need for a dialogue, there is a peace, there is a need for peace or education. That's for me is an amazing thing. And I also look at the Aurora in another dimension because I see it as a platform that may go beyond the founders who advocated for this, because this is something that can be replicated anywhere in the world, because it is such a unique and inspirational platform that it can inspire a lot of other people so that this thing can be replicated. And that is the reason, one of the reasons that makes me to believe that I can replicate the same. And at times, maybe Aurora may be a Nigerian, so shouldn't be an Armenian again. So these are the type of feelings I do have in my mind.
And Huda, what do you explain? What do you say? Why is Aurora doing this?
حقيقة أنا أرى أن أرمينيا بلد كبير جدا.
In reality, I see Armenia as a really big country because it gives hope to human rights defenders in places where actually lack any attention, especially in a country like Armenia where it suffered from lack of attention and no one actually knew what was happening. But now it's actually shedding the light. So I really thank Armenia for hosting this prize. And the thanks goes to the victims of the genocide here in Armenia, because they continue the struggle that we should continue to work with and work closely with the victims until they receive even the smallest amount of recognition.
That is possibly the best way to introduce Reuben Martin Yan, co-founder of Aurora, impact investor, social entrepreneur, and a man who had a vision to make little Armenia a big Armenia. Reuben.
Thank you, Salpi, and I want to welcome all the finalists to Armenia and say we are very glad you're here. I know it was not easy to come. I want to welcome also all our previous year's laureates, finalists, selection committee members, and our ambassadors who is here also, and people who support us many, many years. And Salpi, thank you for your contribution for our project also from the beginning. I will try to speak Armenian, and because it will be very personal, and for us, I want to answer the question when Salpi asked why we're doing this and what is the, I try to think myself also, what is the faith, love, and I want to share with you, all my dear friends, Armenian and non-Armenian, about why we're doing this and why I'm doing this. It will be 5 key points. But before I will say a few words about approach, it will be very personal because I believe, despite we're talking about global problems, we are in the end talking about ourselves more about anything else. Second, I want to say, despite we are inspire and admire people who've been doing this all, we're also human. And it reminds me the story about the Julius Caesar, where every time he's going to the Rome, because people loved him so much, they say he's a god. One slave, black person was standing against him, and it was every 50 minutes coming in his ear saying, "Don't forget you're human." I think it's a very good reminder, not only for the head of the country, but all of us. Remember, the people sitting here, people who are sitting in, we're all human, we're doing mistakes, we're not ideal. Don't try to make them like, look, it's an idealization of the something which not exists, but it's important what person chooses to do in their life. Ես ուզում եմ ասեմ 5 պատճառ ինձ թվում է ինչի է կարևոր, and I hope your translation will be good, but I will try to say in Armenian because it's important for us Armenians here in Armenia, in Yerevan. Եվ 5 պատճառն էլ կարող է դες զարմացնի.
So I will speak about 5 reasons, and those reasons may surprise you, may disagree with me, but nevertheless I would be more than happy to talk about this with you and exchange our views about this. Why do I think this way? First of all, I would like to say that I don't want to feel myself as a defeated person, as a victim. You will help me if I don't find proper Armenian words. I don't want to be recognized as a victim because I do not accept the way of victim's life. Because the victim always thinks that that's the greatest pain and there is nothing worse that could happen to anyone else. Bringing different people to Armenia, we're trying to say that our pain is the worst one. But when you look around the world, you realize that you should not live as a victim. This is first point. Secondly, we live in a difficult world where many things happening, and very often we do not have time for anything else. So I met with the advisor of Japanese Prime Minister, who was here for one day because there is a hurricane over there, so hundreds of people have died, so he has to return. War in Syria, etc., etc. Every day something is happening and we do not have time. And this indifference always remind me the words of Wiesel. Elie Wiesel, when he joined us, being in his advanced age, being sick, his words are resonating in my ears always. The other side of the love is not hatred, but indifference. The other side of life is not death, but again indifference. I am confident only fighting this indifference. When we say that we're small people, we can't do much. We're a small nation, we cannot do much. There is no future if we have this position. And another point, I do not want to live in the past. I do want to know the past, but I want to live in the future. It is important when we speak about the past, let's not live in the past. It's easy to say, let's rebuild our past, rebuild Great America again. By living in the past, we cannot build the future. We have to be proud of our Tigran the Great. We have to remember our heroes who have saved the Armenian nation at several junctions of history. But we cannot move forward if we only look to the past. Fourth, when you help others, you become stronger. And this is, again, very important, to feel your power, to know that you, as a human being, is able to find inside yourself a possibility, a capacity to help others, not being the wealthiest one. I have told you the story several times. It's a story from my life. At the Soviet times, I was recruited to army. I was drafted. It was 1986, and I was a student in Moscow University. I was drafted and ended up in Azerbaijan. I don't want to take your time now, but 7 strange Russian boys had 1 ruble, 3 rubles, so the last pennies they kept for actually buying cigarettes, knowing that I am going to serve in army. They collected 23 rubles to move me from Azerbaijan to Armenia. This help shows that you can do much, not being the wealthiest person, but by sharing with others what you have. And this is very important to remember always, that it's not a matter of money, it's not a matter of position, it's your viewpoint, it's the way you approach life. I'm not waiting for someone to tell me thank you. I didn't know these boys. We get to know each other on the train. 7 non-Armenians, Russians with whom we were interacting, gave me this money because they consider that it's better if I serve my military term in Armenia. And the last point, let's not hope that in the 21st century it is possible to actually build walls and create a safe haven and think that you can live in that safe haven, whether that's Switzerland, an African country, or Armenia. It is impossible to isolate yourself from the rest of the world. We are living on the same planet. We either will destroy ourselves or we will prevent. And this is love, faith, human values, law, rule of law, but this all comes from one source. It's not because it's good, it's appropriate, it's right. It's because we do not have any other way to continue our existence in the 21st century. And that's why I am happy for what we're doing in Armenia. It's good that we're helping each other. It's good that we believe in ourselves. I respect those who think that we're doing wrong thing. I believe you have the right to have your own opinion. And I'm always open for dialogue. If we do something wrong, we're ready to correct. But I am convinced that we're doing what makes us better nation, stronger nation, and thank you for helping us.
I'm fully missed everything. Sorry, guys. We need to say, I join our challenge, of course. I forgot to mention to joining us and join our challenge. And see the movie. Yeah, please go. Let's 1 minute movie, please. Wait 1 second, please. Ես լրիվ մոռացա, էմոցիոնալից բան լրիվ բան մոռացել եմ։ Եվ ուզում եմ առաջարկել, որ միանաք մեր առաջ challenge-ին իհարկե։
Emotions that I forgot to tell you to watch this video about our challenge. So please stay.
Aurora and Aurora Challenge are responding to today's global needs by uniting humanity through shared stories.
Right now, millions of children, orphaned and forsaken, and others suffering from war, conflict, and devastation, call for our help.
It's really very important for all of us to become part of this global movement because I believe only together we can change the world for better.
And this Aurora Challenge is to make a call for all Armenians, and in fact all people of the world, to join and bring their support so that those in need of humanitarian assistance today can achieve it.
Aurora means to me second chance, not only for Armenia, but for mankind.
But I am encouraging all of you to join our Aurora Challenge movement and donate $1 or any other sum to support our activities.
Join the Aurora Challenge to help unleash human potential. Join us in supporting today's humanitarian heroes, in celebrating the human spirit, and in continuing the cycle of gratitude in action together.